Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to the P3 show. My name is Aziza, and I love to connect with people who are making moves in culture, entertainment, and community. Today, we have one of my faves, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Welcome, Miss Sasha Walton.
Hello. Thank you. Oh, you said one of faves. I'm like, oh my God, I'm blushing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I am just like so excited. Thank you so much. Oh my
Yes,
God.
so can you tell the people a little bit about what you do before we dive deep into it?
I am a fashion designer. I specialize in plus size clothing. So from lingerie to evening couture, that's who I am. My brand is House of Solana. And I also have a beauty brand that coincides with my line. It's called Solana Beauty.
Absolutely. Listen, and I have had the pleasure to model for her on a few occasions. Listen, when I say she is glamorous, y'all, first of all, look, you see it already on the screen. But that translates for me into her clothing, into her makeup line. It is beautiful, beautiful work, very glamorous, very, I'm
Yes,
giving it to the girls.
exactly. Exactly.
So can you tell us how did you get started in fashion design?
So it really started when I was like really young. I was a kid, really, when I was thinking about actually being a model first. I was like, oh, I'd love to do modeling ever since I seen like Naomi and Tyra. But I didn't think about size being a thing. So it was kind of like a slap in the face after a while, like, oh my God, wait a minute. There's no things for plus. So it was really a non-existent thing back then. And when I started growing up to be like, okay, I really want to actually put clothing out because growing up I didn't see no good clothes either. And then I really just fell in love with like the creativity. I've always been creative since I was young, so I really wanted to start putting out things. I'm like, I love coats. I love I really love evening gowns and glamour. I don't want just something slouchy on me. And I got that from my mom because she was always glamorous. Her and my dad would go out, and I was like, I would love that. So that's what really sparked that type of um, creativity from me of how I wanted my line to be. And I was like, you know what? I want to do fashion, and I really want to put something out there that is going to look good for all of us, like for all of our shapes and sizes. So I really wanted to put something out there that's what I like to represent in my line, is to have different curves and
Mhm.
different, like, like beauties and shades. That was my thing. I was like, that's what I want to create. It's going to be my world.
Yes, and you know what? I just want to speak a little bit about being a chunky little girl, okay?
Yes.
Because having to go to Girls Plus at JCPenney outlet,
Yes,
listen,
yes,
those were
exactly.
not cute. They were not cute. I was wearing
No,
khaki flares or something and like just
no.
colorful sweatshirts all the time. Like I'm so glad that regular bodies, you know what I'm saying, average bodies are being
Yes.
celebrated and appreciated because they have not always been. So thank you for doing
No,
what you
at
do.
all. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's still a very hard market, really, because there's still not a lot of understanding in the plus industry as well. So that's what I feel like, like you create your world, because not everybody is going to please everybody or cater to a certain specific group, or that may not be your niche. That's fine. But at least we have some people out here now acknowledging design, like we need that, because I'm like, I'm not gonna be going to a party and I don't got nothing cute to wear. So like I had to really just start feeling like I just started feeling like, you know what, this is not even right that we can't even go in a store and have a range of sizes and I gotta walk out with a kitty on my sweater. Absolutely not. Like, no. Like, give me something comfortable, give me something nice to wear, and we can go from there. It's really like the companies don't want to, or it's the cost, because making plus is more costly, but still, like, come on now, y'all got those millions and now y'all ain't gonna make nothing for plus. So yeah.
Like even out an entire section of people, you're going to make the money back. And you know
Yeah.
what? Speaking of that, right? Because they be trying to do us dirty. Plus size clothes cost so much more. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, okay, y'all punishing us? Like you're
yeah.
punishing us for what may be caused by genetics. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Or like
how
events that could make that happen. And I feel like, as I was saying before, they don't want to, because here's what they do in the industry. Like if you get a pattern, it's a grading scale. So then they have to add it on. It's not that hard to do, but
Mhm.
it's what they say, it's money. And also a lot of time, if we want to get into the style of it, they really do not know how to style plus women. They don't have the eye for it. And then people could say, well, if you're a designer, if you're a styler, how come you can't? It's because you have to really know what looks good on body types. Because not, the same, the different type of body types, they can't wear the same thing all the time. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, this may work better for this size over here, and this may work better for this size over here. So it's different, but it's like, why can't y'all do that? Because when you're making something for smaller people, it's so easy. It's a quick, it's a snap. It's nothing to really think about too much. So that's what they don't think about in stores and these brands. They do not think about that. They only really think about just the money side, the money of it. That's really what they think. And the fact that they don't know how to dress plus.
That is 100% true. I think when we were doing the Keeping It Cute podcast, we had an episode about body type and how everything is always meant to try to make someone look like an hourglass. Like, oh,
Yeah,
let's do this trick and that trick and this trick and that trick to try to make you appear to have an hourglass. When it's like, I feel like just dress my body type cute. You know what I
exactly,
mean? Like,
exactly.
just give me clothes that look good for my body type. I don't want to have to try to trick somebody into thinking that my body is something that is not. Let me be and appreciate who I am. So,
Right.
girl, that's the rant for today.
I truly, that's, I feel the same way. And it's like when I'm dressing ladies, I want them to see like, okay, you have this body type, but I can still make you look nice. It still sees you. They still see you. But I want to make sure that you're just like not looking uncomfortable or being uncomfortable. And everybody doesn't have the same shape. And not everybody needs to have a pair or needs to see a bunch, of the same type of body on the runway all the time. And
Mhm.
that's very important, that when we dress like these ladies, sometimes I'd be like so upset because sometimes the same type of body comes to me, because that's what's always accepted. And some other girls are a little skeptical, like, well, they're not going to pick me because I don't have that pear shape. And it's like, no, go to the audition and do it. Like, because I want to see that, because I don't have
Yes,
the time to search all the time for the girls. So I'm like, do it. Like, I really want women to do that have different body types. And it's like, I can still make you look good. So it's like
yes,
not everybody has an hourglass, and you need to see the representation of that on the runways or just in the magazines.
yes. And even with height difference, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Because I'm
Everybody
a five
gives
four girl.
I'm 5'5", like,
Yeah.
and I have a longer torso than legs. So, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. And that
my
was
pants will be
always my
too long.
thing.
Hmm.
And they were like, you have to be tall. And I, when I was doing I've done a lot of runway, and I'm like, I know I got a dope walk. So y'all are not going to be sitting up here telling me I can't model. So
Exactly.
that was always my thing. Even when I just did like with Milan, I had a girl that was like 5'3". I really pushed for her, and I said, it doesn't matter because she's has a great walk. I
Mhm.
don't need a 5'9" girl all the time.
Right.
That's
Right.
just because it's impossible to see that in the world today. So why can't we see that on the runway? Like,
Yes.
like I could line them up in a way, but it's like, come on, like it's not necessary to always have a really tall girl. Like, that's why I wanted to put height in there. That was very important. Very, very important for me.
Yes. So, since you brought it up, right, can we talk about some of the traveling that you've done with different fashion weeks?
Yes, I've done London. I did New York. Before New York started being like a really huge thing for designers to like easily access, I really did something in New York. That was a really, really fun trip. That was so fun because it's like every time I'm going somewhere, sometimes I'm the only plus. And that's just how it's set up, and it was destined to be. And I'm like, you know what, I usually thought I would be more so in like more plus shows, but I wasn't. So I just said, I didn't think nothing of it, and I just went and did that show in New York. Every time I do go, it's usually like an acceptance or kind of a breath of fresh air from people to say, wow, we actually have a plus line in this show. So I always felt good because I always pick the shows. I'm like, okay, we can at least benefit from this or get some type of good connections with other people. So New York was amazing. London was amazing. That was actually my first international trip for me. That was in 2017. So that was really amazing. It was kind of a whirlwind for us to actually go there because, like I said, back then, people still weren't doing that as much or really caring to see plus out there, or even go there, because it's like, that if we have this thing of we're not accepted, but a lot of times we are. We really are. It just depends on how we look when we're out there. We look presentable and look good. And that's where I feel the acceptance come from, because somebody is understanding the body type of plus and dressing it to make it look good. And it's going to look good anyway because I mean, hey, one thing with Paris, that was a I would say that was probably one of my most profound experiments, because I felt like it was really different and difficult, because it was like people probably didn't believe I was getting ready to do plus, Paris, or they thought I was trick. I'm like, no, no, we're actually doing it. And it was a nice prestigious show at the Ritz. And I hate crying and all that. I was like, but I cried when I walked out at the end, because it was a long process. It was a difficult process. And people, I think, when in Paris, when we're going through people's, if you go through people's minds, they're probably, oh, they're gonna come out just half naked. They're gonna just look like anything. Oh my God. But then really people were like crying with me. It was the whole time I heard it was such an emotional show. It was such a like a different moment, because in Paris they don't change. They've seen everything. They're like whatever, But when you show this is what we can wear, that is more different than putting somebody in extreme avant-garde all the time. That is the difference. So Paris was a very intricate experience, and I will never ever forget it. They got the video of me crying going backstage. I'm like, y'all, but it was so amazing because the travel, the different culture, it was just amazing. Like, and just for us to even backstage, people didn't treat us like, oh my God, you guys are too big to be back here. Oh, but it was just really great. Like, people really vibed and cared, and it was a lovely experience going abroad. And that was my second time in Paris, because I went to Paris in college. And just being the sponge and then going back to be the boss, it was amazing. And then just with Milan last year, it was so fun to like really experience a different part of Europe. So I really enjoyed, it was like the same experience. I didn't cry this time, but it was just, I did kind of a little bit, but I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be like having my final picture looking crazy with me crying all the time. And in Milan, it was a beautiful experience because I did push for a different height. And they
Mhm.
understood that, and I appreciated and respected them for accepting the fact that she can walk in some heels. She is a 5'3" girl, but she can do it. I think more so she was maybe 5'2", 5'2", 5'3".
Mhm.
And the other girls were, like some of them were different heights, different cultures. The Native Americans, we don't see that. And the last one I had in Paris, she was Hispanic. So the feedback I received was I had black and brown women in different colors and shapes and sizes and heights in there. That was the feedback that I got. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be a soft fairy tale kind of feel, to show you like this is what we can do on the runway. That was my thing. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to execute.
And that, listen, I have to tell you again because that was my favorite
It
line.
was, yeah, I remember
Yes.
you saying
It
that.
felt so whimsical. It brought out all of the like little girl, 7-year old, like, I want to be a princess. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then like the chunky little girl in me was like, and I can be a princess,
Yeah.
and princess dresses are for me. And I'm just like, yeah, yeah, Sasha did that. I
Yeah.
was so listen, I was so proud, like I had stitched a stitch or something. Like I'm just like, yes, girl. And then the entire line. I mean, the amount of dresses that you did, I was like, I was like, I know she put in that work and
Yes.
it came out perfect. I was floored. I
Thank
was like,
you. Thank you so much. Thank you so
oh my God.
much.
I was like, I was in love. And so I wanted to ask, what are some of your inspirations? Because you also did a line where you did more African cultured clothes, and I love that one as well. But then even like that whole photo shoot or that whole video production where you had, everybody walking in the background. So tell me a little bit about your process and your inspiration.
So I've always been for my culture. That's how I grew up. That's like even just like in my elementary school, I feel like that also kind of built that in me too to appreciate, you know, us and that's how I felt that we should be able to dress and wear our hair in different way. And it's I feel like that was we should be able to be free to wear what we want and look good. So I just said, you know what, I want to do Ankara inspired, and I don't want that to stop. I don't want that to be because you know what, I actually just pulled out my bin of Ankara fabric because I'm getting ready to do some stuff now. So I just feel like my inspiration was always appreciating the African culture as well. I even want to do different regions and kind of spice it up a little bit instead of just all on car. I want to do some different things and techniques to kind of like get some different silhouettes because I didn't want to just do these same exact colors, the same thing. And when Black Panther and Woman King and all that was coming out, I'm like, oh my God, I need to do something, but I didn't get a chance to. I just feel like my inspiration is always the culture of what I grew up. You know, I actually used to live I used to actually like live more like where Juneteenth is. I used to live in that area. So it was like that was my thing. I always seen it. So I just feel like that is just a beautiful, beautiful like line. And my inspiration behind that line is, like I would feel like like queens and women, being beautiful. And I wanted it to be, some sassiness. I didn't want just all long dresses. I
Mhm.
wanted to change it up. That was my thing. Cause I'm like, if you wanted to kind of wear this out as a summer day, you can. You don't have to have a long train all the time. So I feel like my inspiration is still kind of keeping an everyday feel in a way, but still keeping some glam. Those are my inspirations behind that. This next one I'm conjuring up, I feel like it's going to be a little more dramatic. So that's what I'm going for this time because I want it to be dramatic. I feel like I said, this is the year of power for me. So that's what I want. I want to break out with that. So those are some of my things when I think of Ankara. It's just like like basically the difference of what we do as Black people too. I just feel like we can do so much when it comes to fashion, when it comes to the culture. That's really my inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just phenomenal, phenomenal. I literally have loved everything you do. I love when you make it sparkle. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
thank
I
you.
love things culture driven. Um, what what would you say is your overall message when you are designing?
My message when I'm designing, I want you to see the point that I'm trying to make in the clothing. I want you to understand the concept. I always have a concept. I have my design book of what I write down, how I want them to look, how I want it to feel. And when the message is conveyed properly, then I feel so much better. I feel like you're understanding my point, you're understanding my color choices. Because I don't always try to do trend. It could be very boring because it's like, okay, it's already kind of done. It ruins the creativity. I just feel like when I say I want to do something, I just do it. If I want to create some, I create it that way because that's just what in my mind I have to get out. My message is to I feel like be free with my fashion, be free with how I want it to look, how I wanted to feel. And I want you to see that, because just because you see a plus size girl in clothing, that don't mean she's gonna look horrible. She's gonna look amazing if it's done right. That's really my message. That's always been my message. And when I do like those virtuals, and just like the one we did in Florida, and the runway, that's really like, that's my message. Is I'm a visionary. I like vision. So that's my message when I'm designing.
All right, all right. So I want to shift over to Solana Beauty.
Yes.
Tell us how and why you came up with your own beauty line.
I've been wanting to do a beauty line for like 6, 7 years, kind of also since I started my line. But I thought about it like, okay, I really want to do one because um I want it's certain colors in my line. I want them to have a certain look. When I write everything down, even the makeup. I want the makeup to look like this. Either you're gonna have kind of a goldish, brown, purpley, whatever I feel. I want them to have that look, and I want it to coincide with my line. And I used my Flourish Fantasies palette in Milan. So I always wanted my own line. I've always wanted my own glosses. I always wanted my own palettes. So I really thought about like, okay, one day I just end up just doing it because I said, you know what, it's time now. It's time for me to actually release that look. I got my palettes like sitting right here. I got them right here. This was the first one. Then I got this second one, and then we got my floors. This was the one that was in Milan. And then I got my glosses and stuff here too. So I have so many glosses that like they are just like, I wanted it to be simple but glam, of course. I didn't want it to be like too in your face, but I wanted something that everybody can choose from, regardless of what your shade is. So I feel like sometimes these palettes, when I look, because I study makeup a lot, sometimes they could be so boring, or they have the colors I like. So I said, I'm gonna do some that's gonna go with my lines. Why not? Because it's my world, right? But I've always I think I've been starting makeup since I was maybe 14 or so, right around the time I started thinking about sewing. So it's always been there.
All right, all right. So, when it comes to like creating, well, first tell us what is your favorite palette of your line, and then tell people where they are able to go and get any of the makeup that you sell.
Okay. It's kind of hard to pick one. The first one was dedicated to my grandmother that passed last year, which was the pink. Um, but I feel like my favorite, because it's personal, is my Vibrant Glow. My Vibrant Glow is my favorite palette because it was dedicated to me on my prosperity journey. Because even the names in here represent something of what I started with my prosperity journey in 2020. So I feel this was very personal because my color for last year was orange. So I made an orangey like palette, and I said I wanted to make orange and golds because orange, I was like expressing your creativity and splashing around and just, fun and not being afraid. So I felt like my Vibrant Glow was very special. This was a palette that I dedicated to myself specifically. And Solana Beauty, which is the Solana SOLANABEAUTE. And that is on Instagram. You can check that on Instagram. And it's also www.solanabeauty.net. So you can check that as well. So then I have also lashes on there, lip liners. So you can definitely explore. I have a beauty sponge. So there's a lot of things you can actually kind of put on there too. Yes, yes, that's what it is. So yeah, there's all kind of things I kind of built a little bit now on there, and I even have some cute headbands. So then you're doing your hair and all that stuff too. So yeah, like
I
send you
love
one.
that. I love that. So I remember you were doing makeup tutorials and things like that. So are you still into doing like makeup and things like? I mean, I know for yourself, but are you still like a makeup artist as well for other people? Like, can people still book you to do makeup for them?
Yes, they do. Yes. At one point I did stop because I was like, all of my products, they were like, I think they shattered in my bins. So I had to stop for a while. And then for some people that don't want to have like all that, because some people they only do maybe a like a glam look or just simple. When I just was like, I could do it, I could do it all. But no, I still do it for other people too. Yes.
Okay, okay. So I had more questions. I'm so sorry. Let me take this banner down real quick.
Okay.
Um so with the fashion industry and makeup industry and things like that, being a woman of color, being a plus size woman, what do you feel are like what do you feel are the strides that can be made to be more inclusive, to be more open to differences between people? Because I know for you, well, in my opinion, for you, you're already like trailblazing, but I know that sometimes that can be hard when
Yeah.
things are, so set in their way. So what are some of the improvements that you could see in fashion and makeup to be more inclusive of more people?
I feel like the more that we build, I feel like the more that we build and we show out there and we promote ourselves out there, that is what's going to bring people to us. I feel like the more that we support that person of who's ever trying to really do those trailblazing things, that's what helps it. Because then a lot of the times, just seeing the industry be top, they're not going to change. And that's why I said Paris, they don't change. Like I can go out there with bells and whistles all I want to, but what is your point? Are
Mhm,
you really trying to make a point? Are you really trying to are you going to be fake about, like what you're representing or not? Like I feel like the more that we really show what who we are and the passion behind it and see how we can actually impact and help other people, I feel like once we have that support, that's what also really helps and improves that. And I feel that standing on what I really believe in and what I said, what I was going to do since I was, 14, 15, that's what drives my passion. That is what shows people, okay, she really means what she says. When I put it out there on the runway, people are like, okay, that's what she meant. When you really constantly keep when you're consistent about what you do and you don't care what other people think, you're like, you know what, you're going to see this whether you like it or not. That's really, I feel that's one of it's going to impact, because then once we group together and when we support and actually push that, I feel like that's what's going to help. Because the industry, they don't, they may tweak a little bit just to pacify, but it's not ever really going to help. It's really what we have to do, and to put us in the forefront instead, the creatives and the people that really is pushing that, instead of just going from you know a cookie cutter sheet, really, I feel.
Well, yes. So I thank you for doing the work that you're doing. I thank you for bringing glamour and culture and confidence and options to the plus size community. Um, I'm praying that you continue on. I'm gonna have to get some of those fits from that cultural collection, the Ankara collection, because they were too fly. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to get you a fairy tale Disney princess, a Solana princess dress too. um,
Yes, yes, you do. Ah, man, that was such a fun time, man.
and
Yes.
I thank you so much for coming on today. Make sure y'all are checking out Solana Beauty, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the screen again. Go over to Solana Beauty, check out the website. Make sure you support the business. Um, and just keep pushing, keep pushing the boundaries,
Yes.
keep setting your own standards, keep kicking down doors. I appreciate you for coming on here today. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you continue to support. Follow Sasha, find House of Solana and Solana Beauty on all of the socials. Make sure you're following Pretty Plus Size and Powerful on Facebook. I will definitely link her information there, and also on our Instagram at Pretty Plus Power. Thank y'all for tuning in. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.